So today I'm in Rochester, New Hampshire at a cemetery, and I'm going to feature my second great-grandparents. That's my great-great-grandparents, Andrew and Elizabeth McCullough. You may have heard that last name before. They had 7 children, and some of their children we actually knew personally, which is really neat. So this is significant because yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, and I think it took me until just a few years ago to realize how recently I had ancestors that came over from Ireland. So Andrew and Elizabeth were born the same year. They were born in 1894. Andrew was born in Bracknell, Ireland, and Elizabeth was born in Bessbrook, Ireland. They got married in Belfast in Northern Ireland in 1894 when they were both around 20 years old. And within that same year, they boarded a ship and they came into the United States through Boston's port in April 1895. Now that was just a year before who we know as Aunt Lillian would be born in 1896, which is really neat. In fact, I was just sharing with Abigail how cool it was to know someone personally that was born in the 1800s. It's kind of neat. So unfortunately, Elizabeth, our great-great-grandmother, passed away at an early age. I believe she was 37. She actually died while she was pregnant with her 8th child. And this is a little bit of a sad story, but I wanted to share it from the perspective of her son, William, who was just a boy at the time. So this is what he writes about that time. He says, "My parents, Elizabeth Heron and my father, Andrew Graham McCullough, came to this country steerage class on their honeymoon. Picture them tired and anxious as they made their way through Boston's port and many tests for diseases, through the crowds, and somehow finally reaching Rochester, New Hampshire." Bear with me, it's windy today. He says, "She was pregnant again, and as usual, she had no prenatal care. One night, it must have been around midnight, Papa came up to the unfinished attic where we boys were sleeping. And there, he wasted no words, and he said, 'Run and get Dr. Sweet.' So that's what they did, literally on foot. In the night, they ran to get the doctor, and it says that the doctor said he would be there by sunrise, and he was. It was a silent home that we had returned to. Dr. Sweet transferred Mother to her sister's home in Rochester because at this time they were living in Farmington on a farm. In a great effort to save her life, the baby was aborted. Papa stayed at her bedside for some weeks. We 6 children kept the farm operating as best we could. Lillian prepared the meals, made the butter, and gradually became our mother as well as our sister. It turned out that Mother had Bright's disease. She died on January 1911. We children had gone through the livery yard many times in a shortcut way from our home in Rochester to Aunt Margaret's home. We had watched the horses being harnessed into the hearse and ride off to pick up people and carry them to the home where the black veil hung on the front door. We had watched the funeral procession as it moved through the streets to the cemetery that we could see from our former home in Rochester. Now we children looked into the open casket, into the fixed face of our own mother. I can see my father standing there, not a tear. He was transfixed. Lillian wept gently. She was trying so hard to be herself. She knew she must be strong. She must now be the mother." So it's just interesting to have that perspective of Aunt Lillian taking over for her siblings at the age of 15, and our great-grandmother, Graham, as we knew her, was just, I made a note of this, I believe she was just 6 years old when her mother passed away. So the kids aged from 6 to 15, and Aunt Lillian had to take care of them. Now after that, Andrew McCullough would get remarried to a woman named Jeannie, who is actually also buried here next to him. And then we have Aunt Lillian buried next to the two of them. So they are here. I actually think that there are some more relatives in this cemetery, but I'll have to do that at another time. So I hope you've enjoyed this and learned something new, and happy belated St. Patrick's Day.